Today I am sharing my YouTube Stalker story. This is something that happened about 3 years ago now, and I've been kind of scared to talk about it because I was afraid that mentioning this story would somehow summon these people out of the internet to harass me again. But I think that there's a lot of really useful things to learn from the story about internet safety. This experience that I had absolutely changed the way I approach creating content and privacy, how I approach answering to comments and responding to followers. There are a lot of decisions I've made based on this experience. Content warnings for cyberbullying, harassment, doxing, threats of violence, mental illness. I believe the person or group of people who were harassing me were suffering some mental illness. That's what they claimed to be dealing with. However, I will say this situation never left the online space. While there were threats of harm that would come to me in person, this situation never left online. It took place entirely on the internet. If any of that sounds uncomfy to you, click off now, because this story is a wild ride from start to finish, but I think it is something worth sharing. So I'm going to break up this story into 2 parts because to this day, I still don't know if it was one person harassing me or a group of people working together. There is one situation which I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about this guy I'm going to name George. This person constantly referred to themselves with he, him pronouns and as a man. And then there is a much longer story, which I'm going to say is from Janice. And that person constantly referred to themselves with she, her pronouns. So that's my only indication that these were different people, is just they referred to themselves differently, but they acted the same way a lot of the time. So it's up to you to decide. Are these 2 stories really just the same person under different names, or is it 2 separate people? I don't know. So this took place in 2019, I believe, and this took place on the YouTube platform. So around that time, I only had 100 subscribers. I had the YouTube channel that if you saw it on the dashboard, you would just keep scrolling because I was a nobody. And there are people out there who will seek out smaller channels because they know you will respond, or you're more likely to respond for comments. Perhaps you've heard the reasoning of you follow big YouTubers like PewDiePie because they have the money and the resources to make stuff happen. You follow smaller creators because you get the connection, right? They'll answer your comments, you get to have a connection with this person. And I also really bought into this. I wanted to be a YouTuber. It's my dream to be a YouTuber. And I had this super tiny channel that was not doing well. And I was like, I'm gonna answer every comment. So every comment that I could decipher, I would answer. It starts out pretty regular. Okay, I think George leaves a comment like, oh, I like your cosplay or whatever. That's fine, and there were plenty of normal comments from this guy as well. This guy started leaving diary entry comments. Imagine there's a video about how to make a Naruto headband, and in the comments it's just I went to the grocery store today, and here's how my dog is doing, and it doesn't relate to the video. It's just a diary entry. And those were kind of weird, but I still responded because I felt like I had to, because I wanted to be a YouTuber that badly. So at this point, I had also at least uploaded one video about my disability. My very oldest video about my disability, it's called Cosplaying with a Physical Disability. It's something I uploaded just so people wouldn't be weird about me wearing the knee brace. I felt like I had to. The thing about creating content about disability is it opens you up to something called trauma dumping. So other people who may relate to your comments feel like they can basically dump their trauma on you. And this is something that still happens to this day. I've kind of gotten used to it, is people will watch my videos and they'll be like, okay, well, I'm just going to write this long comment about my illness and my struggles and the ableisms I've experienced, and I'm just going to leave it here for you. I'm not a mental health professional. I'm not a medical professional. I think sometimes people just want to get it off their chest, but I cannot advise you medical advice. I cannot be your therapist. I am an engineer. That is like literally the opposite of a therapist. So this guy also trauma dumped on me. I remember he left a super long comment about how he had had cancer in the past and he felt like it was coming back. He had these symptoms that he felt like his cancer was coming back, and he wanted to ask me for advice of what he should do. Should he go back and see a doctor? Should he not worry about it? Context in the comments of like a Naruto tutorial or something. Like, I'm showing you guys how to sew a shirt, and the comments are just like, I think I have cancer. So like, all my sympathies, but perhaps not the right time and place to have this discussion. But again, I wanted to be a YouTuber. I said I would respond to every comment, and I responded to this comment from George. So in my response, I said something really profound like, you should get that checked out. Sorry. Later on, I get a response, I think on the same comment thread on YouTube. These are all public comments on YouTube. I get a response from George that says, because you told me to see a doctor, I did, and the cancer's back, and they only caught it because colleen.cosplay told me in a public YouTube comment to see my doctor. And this is where things take the turn for the weird. I am now his savior. I have saved his life. He ends up trying to send me money, which is something that I'm hugely uncomfortable with. It wasn't a negligible amount. He wanted to send me like a few $100s. So I shut that down. That's like the first time I remember setting a boundary with this guy. George then just kind of wants to know his savior a little bit better. His savior, colleen.cosplay. He asked where I live. I'm at least smart enough to say, George, I cannot tell you that. I cannot tell you where I live. So he thinks he got a really good idea here. He starts asking where I don't live. So he starts leaving comments like, wow, it must be really rainy in Seattle right now. Or stuff like, wow, this con must have been a long drive from Portland. Because if you're in the Pacific Northwest, those are the only two options, Seattle or Portland. I don't make the rules. I think at some point I stopped answering his comments as much, because keep in mind, all these comments were kind of interspersed between completely normal, like, good job, love the cosplay comments, and these bizarre diary entries. I quickly learned that when you tell people you won't tell them where you live, some people see that as a challenge, and that was the case with George. When I said, I can't tell you where I live, he saw that as a challenge to find out where I live. And the way he found it out is something I never would have expected ever. I've never heard of a influencer being found this way. So the way that George did it, and he told me how he did it, in the comments of public comments of YouTube. In my videos, I am always pretty good about crediting where I got items from. That's kind of a tutorial thing, right? I'm gonna say where I got my foam or my Warbler, where I got my fabric or my shoes. I always say where I got things. So in the US, there are certain stores that are like only in the South or only on one coast. So there's this one store that in my Pacific Northwest brain, I thought was a big box store that was everywhere, but apparently it's more of a regional thing, and it's not everywhere. And then I also mentioned that I shop at Joann's. Now I pretty much just shop online as much as possible so I can avoid this scary situation. George, our friend George, looks up every city in the Pacific Northwest that has both of these stores within driving distance. No, I'm not making this up. He looked up every single city that had a Joann's and this other like more niche regional store in the same place and within driving distance. And he got pretty darn close is all I'll say. And he wanted to tell me that in a public comment, so now anyone who looked on my YouTube video could see where I live. I set my boundaries, like I wasn't going to tell him where I live, and this was a clear violation of those boundaries by creepily finding out where I live and then putting it online in a public space, which is doxing. So this guy was just in public spaces being like, this is the city Colleen lives in, and here's how I found out. So I figure out you can block people on YouTube. It's a thing. It's called hide user from channel. But basically, that person can still watch your videos, but nothing they comment will be visible by the public. So he could still comment, hey, I know you live in this city, but at least no one else who visited my channel would see that comment. He must have multiple accounts because he must have come on to that page on a different account and seen his comment wasn't there. And this is where he just starts making multiple accounts to harass me with. We tried a few different manipulation tactics. He's like, hey, you saved my life. I only wanted to find out where you live because you saved my life. Like, we're besties. Like, you can see the parasocial relationship that is formed, and it is ugly. And then he'd be like, hey, you're actually a terrible person. Why did you block me? I only tried to find out where you live because I care about you, and I've supported your channel for so long, and this is how you repay me? So that kind of goes on for, I don't know, days, weeks, months. I don't really remember. At some point, he also ends up emailing me, and I also had to block him on Gmail. I do have my colleen.cosplay in my bio and stuff for business emails, not for harassing. I don't remember if I was active on Instagram at that time. If I was, my account would be pretty small. I don't recall this particular person or this version of this person ever making it to Instagram. And his send-off comment of, I hate you, I'm going to put you in your place for blocking me, was something along the lines of like, you're never gonna make it as a YouTuber. Like, you're trying to make content about like disability and cosplay, and that's so niche, you'll just never succeed. You're an awful YouTuber. You'll never be good at this. Gonna be honest, it stings a little bit because here we are in nearly 2024 and my YouTube channel never really took off. So that hurts a little. What did I learn from my first YouTube Stalker volume of George? First of all, if I have anything I'm showing off in a video, I'm just gonna say I bought it online. I do not care if I bought it in person. I'm going to say I bought it online. So next up is going to be our story with Janice, and that's where it gets really, really, really uncomfortable. Because this stuff with George, I think only lasted 6 months total, and he was not nearly as persistent as Janice, assuming they're different people at all. I'm actually feeling a little bit nervous. I feel like if I speak of this person, she's gonna come busting through my window or something, like the boogeyman. So we're entering 2020. 2020 sucks, okay? There's this pandemic, I lose my job, my wedding gets canceled, and my YouTube channel is still tiny. The other thing about 2020 is I now have Instagram and TikTok, and both of those have maybe a few hundred subscribers, followers. On YouTube, I'm up to 300 subscribers. So this person messaged me a few times on Instagram. This mostly goes down on Instagram messages. They didn't have a profile picture and they had a lot of the same vibes as I got from George. Just kind of diary entry things, like just sending a message to a random person on Instagram you don't know and just being like, hi, this is my life story. I grew up in this city and this is my favorite thing to eat and this is what I like to cosplay and I once met this actor and like just random story, okay? So I did not respond to this person for a while, but I also had an art account at that time. I still have that art account, I just don't post on it. So I have a secondary Instagram account. This person also DMs me on that account, which I should have seen as a red flag that this random person is messaging me on both accounts with just random stuff. At some point, she asks a question that like seems innocent. You know what? Sure, I'm bored. I'll respond to this person. What's the worst that could happen? So we kind of get the conversation started, and I think after I respond to this person, the very next message they say is, where do you live? I'm gonna set a boundary early. I can't tell you where I live. I've had trouble with stalkers in the past. I kind of like allude to the situation I had with George, and she seems to take it okay. And I kind of forget where the conversation goes from there, but it's very, very similar to what it was with George on the public YouTube comments. Just random diary entries that don't particularly match up. Lots of compliments. This person says a lot of things that I should have picked up as a red flag. Okay, first of all, she says that she is a professional cosplayer, professional actress, professional influencer. Kind of moved around between all those three different things. I don't believe this for a second, because it turns out professional cosplayers do not have time to create burner accounts to harass YouTubers. And also, a lot of their journal entries didn't match up. I felt like with George, you could kind of get a cohesive story, but with Janice, it was like telling different lives. You know, at one point, she had grown up in Chicago and was born with no cartilage, and that's why she related to me. And in another story, she was born in Seattle and she got shot, and that's how she was disabled. So I should have seen that as kind of a weird thing. That's weird, right? I feel like I need to explain where I was in 2020 with my mental health. 2020 was a hard time. I lost my job that paid pretty well and had good health insurance, and I was unemployed for only about a month, which is not bad, considering the times. I had to cancel my wedding, which we then ended up having to elope so I could get on my husband's health insurance. The job I got during COVID, I call it an engineering job, but it wasn't. I had to work a desk job because with my disability, I could not work one of those essential worker industry jobs. I had to work at a computer. And I had a 4-year engineering degree. I had my EIT certification. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. I had 5 years of experience in the field, and I was getting paid $18 an hour. Which might sound good, like, compared to minimum wage, but for a 4-year engineering degree with an EIT certification, that's not great. You know, my husband was working, but I didn't want to make him like take on the full burden of providing for us, so I'm working this kind of like dead-end job that's not really going anywhere. Like, I was much more significantly disabled by 2020. I was using mobility aids. A lot of people in my life didn't believe I really needed those mobility aids, and I was just swearing up and down that like this YouTube channel is gonna be a thing. Like, look, I know it looks bad now, but I have a YouTube channel, and I swear I'm going to get monetized this year, and things are going to come together, and it's going to be okay that I had to take this job during COVID. Maybe it's actually a blessing in disguise. That's what it is. It's a blessing in disguise that I took this easier, lower-paying job, because now I can focus on my YouTube channel, which is going to, like, totally be a thing. As I'm sure you've put together, that did not happen. I did not even get monetized on YouTube until this last June of 2023. I was stuck in that kind of dead-end job for the next 2 years. Disappointments all around. Disappointment for everyone. Did I see that these messages from Janice were absolutely a red flag? Yes, there was something wrong going on here. Did I like to hear good things said about me every day? Did I like to receive little messages singing my praises? Yes, I did. So I let it go on, and it went on for a really long time. After a while, I tried to like soft ghost this person. So she's written me like 4 paragraphs, and I just respond with like a heart or something. I'm hoping she like picks up on the message that while I am like thankful for her support of my content, this is a little weird. But I don't put any hard boundaries because, again, there's a part of me that kind of likes having her around. I kind of like hearing that maybe one day I'll be a YouTuber and it's not all just in my head and something I tell myself to make me think like things are gonna work out. The first boundary I set with this person, I remember this pretty clearly at least. It was about these pictures. At this time, I was doing the crutch dance thing on TikTok. It's all pretty cringe. It's a good thing I left TikTok, but I was doing this thing where I would dance with my crutches, and I would also jump on my crutches. It's not something I feel comfortable doing now with my disability, but it was well within my ability back then. But Janice just was really bothered by these pictures of my Killers of Krypton Supergirl jumping up on my crutches. And she came in hot, like, you should not be doing this, you are disabled, disabled people should not be doing stuff that could harm them, disabled people should only ever do stuff that's, like, absolutely essential, they should never be doing stuff like this for fun. Like, when an able-bodied person does a backflip on a four-wheeler, it's just like, oh, that's awesome, but when a disabled person does literally anything, it's like, are you sure you should be doing that? You need someone else to tell you you can't do that. I get kind of fed up with this, and I'm like, look, this is my body. I know my limits. These are choices I am making, and bottom line is, it has nothing to do with you. Mind your business, Janice. And then I just kind of, like, ignore her for a while. I wait, like, a day or something, and I think she tries to contact me on, like, multiple other platforms, and I'm just like, I'm done with you, Janice. Like, let me jump on my crutches if I want to. I come back to the chat eventually, God knows why, and she tells me that she will not eat until I respond to her. She cannot live with having made me upset, so she will refuse to eat until I respond to her messages. Like I said, I wasn't in a great space, so I respond and I'm like, hey, don't starve yourself because a random YouTuber didn't respond to your DM. And then that conversation, I believe, leads into a talk about mental health. This is when this person admits to struggling with mental health, and I admit that I have also been struggling with mental health the past year, and that maybe she should see someone. And again, I just want to throw out there, do not come to me for medical advice or for therapy. I am not that person. I should not have even gotten involved in that way with these people. I never should have done that. She's like, know what? You're right, Colleen. I'm gonna get help. And wouldn't you know it, I saved her life. Same playbook as George, step by step. I had saved her life. And we see the same sort of thing happen all over again, where she wants to get to know me really well because I've saved her. She wants to thank me properly. Parasocial relationship, again, turns ugly. This is like my number one thing that makes me think George and Janice are actually the same person, but I don't know for sure. I think the where do you live thing comes up again, and I also want to say that she also did the where do you not live thing a few times. And the way she found out where I live was different, but also something I never would have come up with. Like, I have never heard of these methods of doxing people ever in my life. I should mention that, like, while a lot of this took place on Instagram, she was, like, religiously watching every single one of my YouTube videos. And I do feel like she originally came from YouTube, just because, again, YouTube fosters this parasocial relationship that is so much more intense than any other social media I've ever seen. So she's watched every one of my YouTube videos, which at that point, there must be at least 100. And in my convention vlogs, I would usually start the vlog before I arrived at the convention. I'd start it in the car, or at home, or in the hotel, and I would just say things casually like, hey guys, I'm in the car, we're 2 hours out from this convention, I'm so excited, we'll see you there. Something like that, which seems like very normal and casual, and is something I see other cosplayers doing in their vlogs too. So what Janice did is she went to the library. She even told me this. She went to the library for this. She got a map. Like, I'm pretty sure a paper map. So if I said something like, hey, I'm 2 hours out from this con in Portland, she'd get her map, go to Portland, get about a 2-hour drive radius out, and draw a circle. Then go to the next con vlog where I'm like, hey, I'm like 6 hours out from this con. Go to that con and draw like a giant circle. And then find where the circles lined up. Like, triangulating my position off of vlogs. And she told me about it too. Like, she sent me a message and she's like, sorry, but I know where you live because I did this thing at the library. I went like full detective mode on you by watching your cringy little YouTube vlogs, and this is where you live. And again, pretty darn close. I think she might have actually pegged the exact city I lived in. I don't quite remember. And like, to be fair, I have moved 3 times since this happened. Like, anyone else out there who's getting ideas, like, I don't live there anymore. So she tells me about this and I say, I'm gonna have to private those videos. So I block her. I think this was also the first time I told my husband about this. My husband doesn't always get a play-by-play on my comments. Every now and then, if I get a really crazy hate comment, I will tell my husband and we will laugh at you. I tell my husband, like, hey, this happened. I think my husband also knew about the George situation. I think I told him about that. And he's like, okay, block her, shut this down. Like we saw with George, this is when things get bad. Just on a whole nother magnitude than it was with George. So she starts creating alternate accounts, not just on Instagram, but on YouTube, Instagram, and email. I don't have any screenshots from either of these stories, but what I do have is my blocked accounts list from all of these different social media. And these are all the blocked accounts from either George or Janice. This group of people harassed me for well over a year over this many accounts. This is how many accounts I blocked from this person without responding to them in any meaningful way for over a year. Let's talk about the sort of messages that I did receive from this person over all these different accounts, though. We see a broad range of manipulation tactics to choose from. She also tries the, hey Colleen bestie, you saved my life, why'd you block me? We're friends. We're friends, why'd you block me? We also see the, Colleen, you are the scum of the earth. Why would you block me? Your bestie. I never even liked you. Actually, I hate you. And this is where Janice gets some creativity. She has always said that she's a professional cosplayer. She is going to get me banned from all the conventions in the Pacific Northwest. Getting banned from a convention is a real thing. That usually happens when you maybe commit property damage or are aggressive or violent at one of their previous events. They don't ban people from conventions because they didn't answer their DMs. Like, that's not a thing. I think the scariest part was she claimed she found my exact address. So she had already found the city I lived in. Obviously, I did not confirm or deny her choice. I just blocked her. But she claims that she found my exact address. She says in one of my videos, one of the shipping labels was not properly covered. And now, like, I do not mess around with shipping labels. Don't just cover your own address, cover the whole label. People can scan the barcode and find your postal area. So I just cover the entire sticker with tape. She claimed that she found my address from this video by like enhancing on it. So now it wasn't just a threat of like this person knows the city I live in. It was this person knows my exact address and can like send me mail or show up. And like I was actually terrified this person would just show up at my house. There was once or twice that I received a package that I forgot buying, and part of me was like, oh my gosh, did Janice send this? And that never happened. It was just like, oh, this is the leggings I forgot I bought. It was really scary for a while until she told some obvious lies, some things that I could clearly tell were lies, and that's when I figured out she was bluffing. She left a comment on, I believe, YouTube, where she said that she won the Emerald City Comic-Con prelims a certain year. It must have been 2019. She's like, hey, don't treat me like this. I won the Emerald City Comic-Con prelims. I have power in the Pacific Northwest cosplay community, which, by the way, winning the prelims doesn't mean you have power to bully other cosplayers. Like, that's not a thing either. And the thing is, I know who won Emerald City that year. Okay, I am actually a Pacific Northwest cosplayer. I do actually participate in this community, and I know who won Emerald City, and I know it wasn't her. So I was like, okay, obvious lie. I think this person is bluffing. The next lie she told is she said, if you do not respond to this comment within a week, I am going to cancel you on my 50,000 subscriber YouTube channel. So I waited a week. I waited for the cancellation video. I was actually really curious to see a YouTube video that was like, cancel Colleen, she didn't answer my message. Never came. So I'm like, that's an obvious lie. You know, if she's gonna lie about all these things, then she probably didn't actually know my full address. I did a few different methods to try and stop this person, so let's also talk about that so you know how to defend yourself with different online functions against harassment. First of all, there is blocking, which I think everyone knows. You can block people on any platform. Like I said, you can block people on YouTube. You can block people on Gmail. You can say that you will not receive messages from this email anymore. I did that. Another option on Instagram is restricting. So there was at some point that she said something like, I can tell you still care about me because you're still making an effort to block me. If you really didn't care about me, you wouldn't be blocking me. So I tried restricting. And what restricting is on Instagram is they can still see all your stuff and they can still comment, but no one will see their comments. So essentially, everything looks the same on their end, but on your end, nothing they put in goes public. So that was a way for Janice to not bother my actual followers, because she would do the same thing where she'd go into my public comments and be like, Colleen lives here. So restricting her, that made her think that I was just ignoring her, but she wouldn't essentially dox me in front of everyone else on my page. You do still have to like see restricted comment, like it censors it out and you have to like uncensor it if you want to see it, but it was just getting kind of annoying just having like restricted comment, like 7 of them on each post just like censored as restricted comment, even though no one else could see them. It was annoying. I did report this person a few times too. That's another tool you can use. This person never had a profile picture and was only ever following my 2 accounts. So it was really easy to spot her, and I would report the account as spam. Also, when you block people, you can also say block all accounts from this email. I think you can make 5 Instagram accounts from 1 email, so I would be able to basically block everything she can make from that email on Instagram in one go. But as you've seen, she made a new email, I think at least every week, just to harass me. Like a brand new Gmail account every week to harass me. You know, I really thought about it, and this person was probably spending a good hour or 2 every week just figuring out ways to harass me. I did watch a few YouTube videos about what to do about cyberbullying, but there's really no way to stop people making multiple emails. The assumption is that if anyone is bullying you, they would not go to these lengths, that they just get bored. But she did not. As I said, this went on for an entire year without me responding, with more and more unhinged comments as we went along, just to try and get any response out of me, even if it was just like, whoa. I did a video about cosplaying disability or something, and she wrote the craziest hot take. The hot take was, you should only accommodate disabled people if they're good at cosplay. I kid you not. She wrote this comment just to get a response out of me that was like, well, you should only be given a wheelchair ramp if you're at least masters. Novice should have to compete on the floor until they're good enough. So like, yeah, of course you wouldn't get a wheelchair ramp. You're not good at cosplay. Like, it was the craziest mental gymnastics. And of course I deleted it and I didn't respond, but that was the kind of energy. It was just like the most absurd things. I also announced on my Instagram that I would no longer be responding to any messages from people without profile pictures. I remember feeling bad that like some of my actual followers may be collateral damage in all of this, that there were actually people following me who were interested and trying to contact me that couldn't because I was like falsely associating them with Janice. The only more extreme measure I could have done is I could have made my account private and that would have stopped it. So if you make your account private, people have to request to see your page. I could have made my account private, but I really just didn't want to admit that I was dealing with this. I felt like I was finally going to get traction. I was doing the Her Universe fashion show thing. Like I didn't want to lose that traction because of this person. Near the end is where we start to see the threats of violence I mentioned. I do mention what cons I'm gonna go to. That's something I still do, and that's something you might want to not do for like these reasons, privacy reasons, but I do give a lineup for every con I'm going to attend. About a week before the con, I post what days I'll be there and what I'll be wearing and if I'll be in any particular events. So that does mean it would be incredibly easy for this person to track me down at a con, because I'd say I'm in this cosplay and I'm in the cosplay contest. You just look up when the cosplay contest is, you show up, and there I am. She did say she would find me at one of these cons and would harm me, beat me up, I don't know. Like, hurt me in some way at these cons. So I go to my first con back in 2021, and like there is a time in my con vlogs where my husband is like glued to my side for every single vlog. He never left me at a convention alone. Basically, my husband was my bodyguard because I was worried this woman would show up at a con and like assault me. And I did look online also about like at what point you can get the police involved. And with my situation, you cannot get the police involved because it's just like online threats. Nothing's ever actually happened to me. If she did assault me, I could get the police involved. But since she never did, like you can't. That's the situation. So I just continued blocking this person, and thankfully it was all just bluffing. She never showed up in person to attack me. Over time, she just seems to give up a little bit. It becomes less frequent. A year is a long time to create an email account every week. And there are sometimes she goes an entire month without harassing me, and I think maybe we're done, and then she comes back in full force about how I'm the worst person she's ever met. At some point, she was telling a story about how she moved to Seattle because she was going to like find me, and we were going to be like Pacific Northwest besties. And she said she named a cat after me. And I think that's kind of around where it ended with the cat named Colleen. I think a lot of it was just I got more followers, and once you have more followers, you're no longer seen as this target of someone who will steal your comments. And that's true. I do try to read every single comment, but especially on Instagram, sometimes it falls through. Sometimes I just don't see the comment because there's too many. Same with messages. I really do try to read every message I get, but sometimes it falls through and I do not see it. So that is my story with Janice. I could say so many other things that like were just so crazy that she sent me in messages, but I think you get the idea. What did I learn from my experiences with Janice? I now start my con vlogs at the convention. Sometimes I will vlog in the hotel. If it's a really big con, like I feel like it's more okay to vlog from the hotel, but for smaller cons where it's more suspected that I might be local, I do try and film starting at the convention. I never mention how long it takes for me to get there. Something I've learned from both these stories is if you set a boundary and say, I won't tell you where I live, some people will see that as a challenge to find out where you live. So if you ask me where I live, I will just lie now. I will pick whatever city I am feeling the most and I will tell you I live there. And you can make something up for any number of reasons to protect your safety. If someone asks you at a con if you're there alone, say, no, I'm with my friends. If they ask if you're staying in a certain hotel, say, oh no, I'm in a different hotel. Like, it's crazy how the lies come so easily now. The other thing I do is I throw in some misdirection. So I do travel some, not for cons, just for personal business or to see friends. And whenever I'm out of town, I try and take some cosplay pictures out of town. So I have a wide range of backgrounds. I have some good cityscapes. I have some good like countryscapes. Like I try and get as many different types of backgrounds so that people can't really pinpoint where I live from looking at pictures or video. I try and film a whole lot with landmarks from places I don't live too. It's just crazy how I experienced all this with such a small amount of subscribers. It was like less than 1,000 subscribers that I went through all this, and I don't know what made this person stop. I hope they got help. I think this was an adult who was just struggling with mental health, and the only way that they knew how to deal with it was to harass a YouTuber. Like, I don't know, it's just like, these are the things you need to think about when you start doing YouTube specifically. Like, yeah, these things can happen on other platforms, but YouTube, I really feel like YouTube brings it in the most. And I feel like there's also a discussion to be had about why we feel like we can treat influencers this way. Like, why, if you create a YouTube channel, you can be treated this way. But this is already a really, really long video. I feel like I've said what I had to say. Just be careful out there, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!